It's not fair. Who do you think you are?
My husband baked a birthday cake for me. My mother-in-law screamed at the sight of it, then started licking all over the cake. How vulgar.
No, Mom, stop it.
I froze, and my husband desperately tried to stop her. It was too late. After eating half of the whole cake, albeit a small one, she breathed heavily and glared at me.
I can't believe my precious son would bake a cake for you. You're less than a servant. Her birthday isn't worth celebrating. Anyway, he's my son. He is mine. Marriage doesn't change anything. Remember that.
She threw her fork on the floor and puffed out her chest triumphantly. I turned to my husband.
Oh, shoot.
He was carrying with his head in his hands. What's going on? When he was about to say something, my mother-in-law's eye rolled back and she collapsed to the floor. The story goes back some time ago. Marcus and I fell in love at work. He had joined this company the same year as me, and we hit it off right away. We were both big fans of baseball games and often went out to the stadium on our days off. It didn't take long for us to become romantically involved. We got married when I was 26. Marcus took the opportunity of our marriage to change jobs. We felt a little awkward working in the same office and the same department. He wanted to take on a new challenge in a different industry that he had always been interested in. Although everyone at the office was disappointed to hear the news, Marcus was determined to pursue his new path. Our colleagues gave us their heartfelt blessing on our marriage and sent Marcus off with their best wishes. It wasn't just them. Friends and family were also exhilarate about our marriage. Well, except for one person.
Hey, Ivy, the mirror in the bathroom is dirty again. It's a place for grooming, but you're not very conscious about it.
Okay.
What's with your attitude? Come on, hurry up and clean it. I wonder why Marcus changed his job for a useless person like you.
In her mind, it was my fault that he had to change his career. I knew it was pointless to explain, so I headed for the bathroom in silence. The mirror had some water stains, and that was it. If I had told her it was nothing, I knew she would have been furious with me, so I wiped it clean. The main problem after marriage was my mother-in-law Betsy. She divorced her ex-husband when Marcus was still young and raised him by herself. Perhaps that was why she was more overprotective of him than usual. She even insisted we live only 2 subway stops away from where she lived. She visited us every weekend and criticized me. Eventually, she started coming over even when Marcus was out. He picked up on some hobbies and often went out with new friends on his days off. Even though I told her he wasn't at home, she kept showing up, and I had no choice but to entertain her. When the mirror was wiped clean, I heard her calling me for some other task. With a grunt, I headed for the living room to see what was next.
I'm home.
By the time I heard Marcus' carefree voice, it was already evening. The house was spotless from top to bottom, thanks to all the things Betsy had me do.
Oh, you're back.
She rushed to the door. She took off his jacket and walked into the living room with him. Hi, honey.
Hey, I brought you some sweets. Oh, you are so thoughtful. These are for Ivy and...
Before he could finish, Betsy took out patisseries from a paper bag and began munching them. As we watched her without saying a word, she noticed us and made a sulky face.
Let me be. It's only fair that I get treated the same way as Ivy.
She acted like a child, but I was in no mood to argue with her. I signaled Marcus with my eyes, and we let her do whatever she wanted to do. When I went to the kitchen to prepare dinner, he followed me for some reason. I needed him to keep an eye on Betsy. What's up?
Sorry, I was told to attend a meeting with a client on Monday.
Really?
Yeah, I got a call from my boss earlier.
He sounded apologetic because it was my birthday on Monday, and we were supposed to go out for a nice dinner. We had decided a long time ago that we would take a day off and spend it together. Well, if he was told to work then, that was that.
I'm really sorry. I will make it up to you later, I promise.
Don't worry.
I will cook you something special.
Then, Betsy popped up in the kitchen. Before she could ask us what was going on, Marcus took her back to the living room. I was disappointed, but told myself to let go and started cooking dinner. It was the following night when the harsh reality hit me. Marcus had to prepare for the meeting and was coming home late. As I was getting ready for bed, I received a message and pictures from a colleague who was on maternity leave. I opened the app without thinking much and was met with an eye-opening text and a few images. Sorry, it's so late. This is Marcus, right? I saw him while I was shopping. There were pictures of him and an unknown woman sitting next to each other at a cafe. Images were of them happily feeding a cake to each other on a terrace and snuggling up. All of them were inexcusable evidence. Seeing him in a suit, they must have met during a break from work. I couldn't sleep that night. I thought about ignoring him, but if he sensed something was up, it might have hindered me from getting more proof. I had to find out more about the woman, no matter what it took. I decided to act as normal as possible and tried not to show my anxiety on my face. Then, the day before my birthday, he said he was going to meet a friend and left the house as usual. 5 minutes after I saw him off, I went out as well. I walked quickly toward the station. I had a hunch that he would take the subway. It was a 10 minutes walk from my house to the station, so if I hurried, I would be able to catch up with him. As I was walking, unpleasant thoughts kept swirling around in my head. I was sure that all his previous outings had been to meet the woman. If so, the affair had started 6 months ago. Why? Was he unhappy in his marriage? I was the only one who thought we were doing well. As I was walking and wiping away my tears, I spotted him. He got on the subway and got off after 3 stops, and I followed him. After working for a while, he went into a small pastry shop. I wondered what in the world he was doing there. Then I saw a woman in an apron come out of the kitchen. It was her in the pictures. I hurried to photograph of the exterior of the shop and of them making out. Then I left as fast as possible. After I returned home, I did some housework to distract myself. I took pictures, but didn't know what to do with them. Eventually, the sun went down, and I had dinner with Marcus as usual when he returned. The day was over in a flash. That night, I noticed that Marcus, who was sleeping next to me, had left the bed. The phone on his bedside table was also gone. I wondered if he was going to call his lover. I got out of bed too. He was doing something in the dark kitchen, relying only on the light from the refrigerator. The suspicious movements scared me, so I turned on the light and called out to him. Then a paper bag fell from his hand. The name of that pastry shop was printed on the bag. I felt my blood run cold.
Oh shoot, you caught me. I wanted to make it a surprise for you by looking in a fridge tomorrow.
He was holding a small-sized whole cake. The chocolate plate on top of it had a writing, "Happy birthday, my love." The poor handwriting must have been his. He had taken the trouble to write it by himself when he should have left it to the chef. I was sure he didn't want his lover to know about my existence. Moreover, he wanted me to eat the cake that she baked.
Happy birthday, honey. Since you are here, do you want some?
Thanks, but not now. I will save the fun for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's late for a cake.
I didn't want to eat it at all, though I couldn't tell him that. I was too lazy to withdraw my request for a day off, so I stayed home alone on my birthday. After seeing Max off, I sank into the sofa. I pondered what I was going to do. I had to think, but my brain was foggy, and I couldn't think straight. Then suddenly, the doorbell rang. I looked to see who it was, and saw Betsy standing there looking grumpy. She was the last person I wanted to see right then, but I couldn't just ignore her. I opened the door with a heavy heart. As soon as she saw me, she told me to clean the front porch because it was messy. I told her to let me get her a drink first, but she brushed me off. She didn't want it and just wanted me to get to cleaning right away. I returned inside the house after about half an hour and didn't find her in the living room. There was a noise coming from the kitchen. I went to check and found her in front of the fridge. "Betsy?" Startled by my voice, something fell to the floor. It was my birthday cake that was more than half gone. She apparently found it and ate it without asking me. She had snatched sweets that Marcus had bought for me before, but it was shocking to see her eating my birthday cake. When I was totally stunned, her face turned red.
What are you staring at? It means nothing to me that you're married to Marcus. He's my only son, and he's always mine.
She screamed at me with whipped cream around her mouth. What lay crumbled on the floor was what used to be my birthday cake. The writing on the sheet of chocolate was almost illegible. It was a whole cake, albeit a small one. She ate more than half of it by herself. It wasn't that she loved the cake so much, but more like she couldn't stand my existence. When I remained silent, she threw her fork down on the floor.
I raised him all by myself. I can't allow you to take him away from me. I know him better than you do.
She fell to her knees, covering her face, and began to cry hysterically. "Calm down, Betsy."
Don't touch me. I don't need your sympathy.
She shook my hand off, and I fell on my bottom from the push. I couldn't stay silent any longer, and I clenched my fist.
His lover made that cake. What?
That's why I couldn't eat it. Here is the proof. The moment I showed her the pictures, she mumbled,
"Oh, dear God,"
and collapsed. I rushed to pick her up, but she seemed to have passed out. Her body was limp. I managed to carry her to the sofa and clean up the remnants of the cake. I didn't know what to do, but Marcus wasn't answering his phone. I called his office and was told a shocking truth.
Marcus? He's not in today.
I thought he had a meeting with a client.
No, he requested a day off. Oh, but you didn't know.
He was about to say something, but I hung up the phone. In the meantime, Betsy opened her eyes. When I handed her a glass of water, she covered my hand that was holding the glass with both of her hands. I had never gotten such a gesture from her before.
Is it true what you said?
Yes, I have other evidence. When I showed her the pictures of my colleague had sent me, she let out a deep sigh. That night, as soon as Marcus opened the front door, she stood up to face him. I followed her and saw her standing firmly in front of him.
You have something to say, don't you? What happened? Why are you mad at me? Ivy, the pictures.
I hurriedly showed my phone screen to him. He agitated for a moment, but then put a fake smile on his face.
Oh, she's one of my clients who's friendly with me. It's kind of a sales technique. Marcus, be honest. I'm sorry.
He knelt on the spot and began to confess. I was right about them meeting on the weekends for the last 6 months. He asked her to bake her cake, lying that he would eat it himself. The writing was done by him as I guessed. While listening to him talking, tears were streaming down Betsy's face.
I just wanted to have some fun. Honey, you will forgive me this much, right? You know that your dad and I divorced because of his infidelity, right? Yes. And yet, you're pathetic for hurting Ivy this way.
I gently rubbed her trembling back. He just kept apologizing. A month later, I'm in my spacious house talking with Betsy.
I'm so sorry. I apologize for Marcus' infidelity and for the way I've been treating you.
It's okay now. His affair is his own problem.
No, I was too attached to him. I thought you were taking my only son away from me, and that made me feel lonely. My attitude got to his head and made him act like a fool.
After that incident, I filed for divorce. He tried to continue the relationship with the lover, but I sent her a note with a copy of my marriage certificate, which ended their relationship. She wasn't aware that he was married and immediately dumped him. Because of the call I made to his office, the rumor of his infidelity and divorce spread at his work. He is still working there, being shamed by his coworkers.
What are you going to do now?
I'm selling this house and getting a new place. I want to start over from scratch.
I hear you.
Please come visit my new house if you like. I will let you know when I settle in.
Thank you, my dear.
I'm still hurt, but I'm sure that this event has some meaning. I will try my best little by little to make it a funny story someday. The gentle light of the sun through the windows shines on us.